Hey Dylan, come here for a second. Do you hear that?
Hear what?
I don't know. Can you hand me my other Mario games? Man, Mario music is awesome. I should do a video about it. Before I start off with the original Super Mario Brothers, I just want to make a few things clear. This is just my own personal opinion. It will be different from yours. It's just based on how much I enjoy each song, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'm also only going to be talking about main series games. No Paper Mario, sports games, Mario Party, etc. Lastly, I'm not going to talk about remasters, the Mario Maker games, Super Mario Run, or the Lost Levels, due to there not really being unique songs in each. I know there may be a couple, but if there are, it's really just a remix of a song previously used. Starting off with the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES, there are only a few options due to the limitations at the time, but I'm gonna have to go with the main theme you all know and love. This is quite literally the most famous video game tune of all time, and arguably one of the most famous pieces of music in human history. It's been remixed and remade more times than I can count, but for now, I'm just talking about the original. There isn't really much to say, as the song is pretty simple, but it's just a catchy, upbeat track that you can't help but vibe to as you're just jumping across the Mushroom Kingdom in its original state. On to the second NES entry of this acclaimed series, we have the character selection track. I went back and forth between this and the main theme, but I just love this one. It's just so fun and catchy, even if it isn't the most complex song of all time. This track is just a great background to the character selection, where you get a whopping 4 choices on who you want to begin your journey with. Now for the final NES installment. Once again, I went back and forth on 2 choices: the airship theme and the ending theme. I think the ending theme just gets the edge here. It starts off slow, and it makes it clear you just finished your adventure and saved the princess. It's the ending of the play as the curtains close. This is a remake of the original ending theme, but I feel they just made it so much better and added so much more. Anyway, after a little while it speeds up as the curtains once again go up and recaps the different lands you had to travel through. Just a rewarding way to close out this fantastic game. For the first handheld entry on this list, we have Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. I'm not a huge fan of this game's soundtrack, but it has a couple of good tracks, and the one I'm going to be choosing is the main theme, which is similar to the original Super Mario Bros. In the sense that it's a pretty simple song, but it's just catchy, it's upbeat, and it's fun to listen to. I also do love how it sounds on an original Game Boy. With the sound chip that it has, listening to it online does not do it justice. The first 4 entries on this list haven't exactly had the most expansive soundtracks, but Super Mario World just has banger after banger. I used to play through Mario World on the DS using the Game Boy Advance port, and I always loved listening to the music, so it's a tough choice. The athletic theme is the most famous, but I just love a good ending song, which rewards you for finishing the game. So I'm gonna choose the ending theme once again, and it won't be the last time. This is even better than its Super Mario Bros. 3 counterpart, as the better technology allows for more sounds, and it's a much more complex and interesting song overall. It once again starts off slow, but it has different sections and eventually goes back to how it sounds in the beginning, with the added twist of being faster before reverting to the slow congratulations you're used to, before having a chromatic sounding ending to officially wave you goodbye. Now for the second Game Boy game, Super Mario Land 2: 6 Golden Coins. It's easily Wario's castle. What a great way to lead up to the final boss. It's ominous, suspenseful, and unnerving. It just sounds like Wario, if that makes sense. It doesn't sound like the traditional final castle theme, as more likely than not, you're going to be fighting Bowser. But since it's Wario this time, it changes. I'm not a huge fan of this game's soundtrack either, but I do really like Wario's castle theme. Okay, so this game isn't really a Mario game, but it also kind of is because of the title, and I also love the soundtrack and I want to talk about it. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Best song in my opinion is a tie. I couldn't choose between these two. It's Flower Garden and the Athletic theme. Let's start with the Athletic theme. I just love this song. It's as simple as that. There's not really anything specific to talk about in it. It just always gets stuck in my head when I listen to it. It's one of the most fun Mario, Yoshi songs there is. And it sounds even better hearing a live cover where it's played on piano or by a jazz band. Just look up Yoshi's Island Athletic cover after this video. You won't regret it. As for Flower Garden, it had some great memes a couple years back, and I love it for all the same reasons as the Athletic theme. It just makes it sound like you're a dinosaur carrying around a baby through a garden that happens to have flowers. Am I right? Yoshi's Island soundtrack is just really underrated. Go play the game if you haven't, or at least check out its soundtrack. For the first 3D entry on this list, it's the Nintendo 64's Super Mario 64, which I get nostalgic listening to because it's one of the first games I ever played on 64. There are iconic songs in every painting you jump through and as you traverse through the castle. As much as I tried to not give the best song to the ending theme for the third time this video already, I have no choice. I love the Bomb Battlefield theme and Dire Dire Docks and almost every other track, but the ending theme just hits different, and it's most definitely nostalgia. I beat this game so many times that I can't hear this without getting chills. I used to bring my DS around everywhere and play Mario 64 until I finally finished it and got to hear this magnificent theme song. It will always just hold a special place in my heart, and I just couldn't choose any other song for this title. Super Mario Sunshine has a very tropical sounding OST, as you'd imagine, and I do enjoy it. Just, I don't know, maybe not as much as 64, but there are a lot of bangers here too. My favorite track though is Bianca Hills. Not much to explain for this one. It's like half the songs on this list. It's just upbeat, fun, catchy, and it just perfectly encapsulates the environment in which you're traversing through. In this case, a tropical setting. Back to 2D games for a bit. We have another one of my favorites, New Super Mario Bros. DS. These songs were unique at the time before its successors just kept using the same tracks. Like with the Game Boy games, I love how the sound chip makes it sound. It's purely nostalgia, but it can't be replicated without the original system. I'm gonna go with the Athletic theme, and this is easily my favorite version of the New Super Mario Bros. Athletic theme, purely due to the previously mentioned DS sound chip. I used to have an electric toothbrush that would play this while brushing my teeth. In the comments, let me know if any of you had the same toothbrush. This was back when New Super Mario Bros. Songs all sounded fresh and all had that Mario platformer vibe. I still like the future soundtracks in the series, but nowhere near as much as this one. Just listen to the Wii version of the Athletic theme. It just sounds watered down in comparison. Now on to probably the best video game soundtrack of all time, maybe besides its sequel, Super Mario Galaxy. I don't even know how to choose one here. Almost every single song is an orchestral masterpiece. For the sake of variety on this list, since many have just been fast, upbeat level themes, I'm gonna change it up and go with the somber piano version of the Mario Galaxy theme, Family. It's just a beautiful rendition of an amazing theme song without all the fanfare of other versions of it, which, don't get me wrong, are still fantastic, but I just love how it sounds played softly on the piano. I could talk about this game's soundtrack all day, and I might just do that for another video, but for now, let's get to its sequel. For New Super Mario Bros. Wii, another game I have a ton of nostalgia for, I got it the day it came out and immediately played through all of it. And even though a lot of tracks are originally from the DS, they are redone, and there are some newer tracks, and it's the staff roll. I don't really need many words to explain this. It's just purely nostalgia, even though it's still a really good song. I just love the staff credits, where I'd just be jumping around collecting coins as this upbeat tune played in the background. It's a great way to end this fun multiplayer adventure. Super Mario Galaxy 2 continues its predecessor's amazing soundtrack, and it has that same vibe of space exploration, but it brings so many new tracks. I have to go with the credits theme here. As much as I wanted to have a little more variety, it's just too good. and it might be the best song in video game history. Words can't even describe it. Just take a listen. Also, honorable mention to Fluffy Buff Galaxy. Take a listen to that as well. Super Mario 3D Land. I'm actually not a big fan of this game or its soundtrack. I just don't think it's too memorable. But I do like the overworld theme. There's nothing that stands out about it too much, but it's kind of catchy. It sounds like your typical fun Mario song, and it lends itself to a lot of remixes throughout the game that utilize it well. However, I still think the original version is the best. New Super Mario Bros. 2. I legitimately don't know if there are any completely unique tracks in this game, or if they're all just remade versions of past New Super Mario Bros. Songs. But I'm just gonna go with Resner Battle, which I believe is from Super Mario World. It's a boss theme that puts you on edge, and it goes fast, which makes you want to follow suit and not slow down. There aren't a ton of different parts of this song, as it does get repetitive after a while, but this battle doesn't take long, so for that time, it's a bop to listen to. Now, we're finally almost done with the new Super Mario Bros. Games with New Super Mario Bros. U, which finally gets some new tracks. The track that is my favorite is a new version of an old song, but I feel like it just fits so well. It's World 8, Peach's Castle. It takes the classic Peach's Castle theme, but makes it dark and mixes it with the sound of Bowser's Castle to show that he's in control of it and you need to take it back. Take a listen. After talking about 3 games in a row, which I'm not the biggest fan of in terms of their soundtrack, we have one which has my third favorite in today's video. Super Mario 3D World goes for a big band jazzy style for a lot of its tracks, and I just love that style. Most of these songs would be my favorite if they were in any of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, but unfortunately for them, they've got a lot of competition. I'm also incredibly biased as a saxophone player, which many tracks in this game use, so this is a really tough choice, but I'm gonna go with the Histocrat Battle. It starts off with some percussion, and then it gets right into the action with the big band sound highlighted by trumpets with some saxes accompanying. There's so much that went into this track. Just take a listen as it's playing in the background. It doesn't get repetitive, even if you're in a battle for a while, just because of the different sections. It's just such a great boss theme for a great overall soundtrack. For the penultimate game, we have Super Mario Odyssey, which I actually think has one of the weaker soundtracks for a 3D Mario game, which still puts it in an elite video game soundtrack overall. It came down to 2 tracks for me, one being the Fossil Falls theme, which is pretty much the main theme of the game, and Jump Up Superstar, which I believe is the first Super Mario song to have lyrics. I'm just going to talk about both because it's too hard to choose and they're both so different. Starting off with Jump Up Superstar, I already mentioned being a big fan of the big band jazzy style of music in Mario games, and this time, it even has lyrics as you get your own virtual concert. There's just so much variety in this one song, and some really cool small details like having Donkey Kong sound effects mixed in, and it just sounds like a song that can exist on its own outside of being part of a video game soundtrack. That is, if you ignore the Mario-themed lyrics. It's just an elite song overall that I know people have talked about for how great it is for the past 5 years. As for the Fossil Falls theme, which I mentioned, it's pretty much the main theme of the game and has different versions. It gives off Super Mario Galaxy vibes with the grand orchestral sound of it, and it makes you feel like you're on this big adventure, or an Odyssey, if you will. This specific version of this track just fits the beautiful Fossil Falls so perfectly, and it's the first time you feel like you're able to truly explore in the game, and it's through a grassy, prehistoric landscape. Now that I think about it, Odyssey's soundtrack is better than I remember just due to its top songs. Now to end the video, we have Bowser's Fury. My favorite song is Fury Bowser. Instead of the traditional Bowser boss theme, they went with a heavy metal track that's just a banger, if we're being honest. I also think it's funny how you're playing a Mario game, and then Bowser's just there with his metal song, then an electric guitar just blasting in the background, and it just works so well. Bowser's Fury has an underrated soundtrack. Well, that's the list. Do you agree or disagree with the picks? What are your favorites? Let us know in the comments and tell us if you want us to do more videos like this. Also remember to like and subscribe and turn on notifications. This has been Brett with Game Domain, wondering how could I have forgotten to mention Super Mario RPG?